Hello. You haven't seen me for a while, and that's because I have been doing other things. One of those things involves the Micromonsta 2, which you can see in front of me right here, and it's not a modular synth. How strange for me to be doing something that is not with a modular, but it does have a really comprehensive modulation matrix, which is fantastic and really easy to use and can create some brilliant results. Interestingly, the Micromonsta 2 has just come back into stock quite recently at Audiothingies, and for the first time, as far as I'm aware, or as far as I know about, it doesn't have a waiting list. You can just go to the shop and buy one. When I got this, I was on 2 different waiting lists and I had to wait over a year or something. It was a long wait. So I've been doing stuff with this whilst I've not been making videos for you, and meanwhile Audiothingies have been producing a load of Micromonsters that are now for sale, so if you like this kind of stuff you should go and get one. But what am I doing with this? Well, I've been listening to loads of Audiothingies recently, which is why I've been using this. I did used to have a Nord rack, and I know Audiothingies used to use Nord lead, Nord rack back maybe late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. There's a really good Sound on Sound article, an interview with them if you want to find out more about how they used it. But I can't afford a Nord rack these days. They've gone up loads in value. I used to have one, I sold it. This is about, what, 300, 350 quid, something like that. And it doesn't have the full voice count of a Nord rack or lead, but it does sound really good, and the modulation matrix is superb. Anyway, so I've been trying to make this Audiothingies style music, and I was trying to use the 2 voices. It's a bitimbral synth. One to do melodic stuff, one to do percussive stuff. And I was struggling for a bit. How do I make one voice of a polysynth into something that can act like a drum kit? And I kind of figured something out, which is basically what this video is about. So let's get on with it. I did actually, just to let you know, I did try and record a whole version of this video before where I went through exactly, you know, me going from nothing, from an init patch to patching this. And it was really boring. So hopefully this one won't be so boring. Let's have a listen. This is what I have going at the moment. I'm hitting a key step here if you weren't aware of what that is. But listen to how kind of expressive it is. Pressing gently when we're very low down. This is minus octave 3 on the key step. You get very kind of hollow bass notes that could kind of act like a kick drum. Go up an octave, hit hard, things that sound like snares, kind of snares. Hit gently in this kind of octave range. A woodeny kind of tom kind of sounds. Go up a bit more. Hopefully you can hear it's a relatively expressive, particularly in the lower range. Quite an expressive drum voice. So how did I make it? Well, I'll show you now. Here is the Micromonsta 2. It's actually a really quite simple synth to program, even though it kind of looks like it will be very menu divey and stuff. Anyway, go into the oscillator section. I'll turn that's a kind of built-in keyboard you can have. Turn that off by pressing no. Go into the oscillator section. Oscillator 1 has a triangle wave that's being FM'd by another oscillator in here, which is actually the oscillator 3. Oscillator 2 is a sine wave, 2 semitones down from oscillator 1. I quite like them just being kind of close to each other, but not exactly the same. That's what I'm doing there. Oscillator 3 is a wavetable oscillator. And actually, I'll show you in the mixer section in a minute. We can't actually hear oscillator 3. It's just being used as a modulation source for the FM of oscillator 1. So it's a wavetable in the middle of the shape range, tuned how it is. But the reason that works, I'll show you the mixer. If you hold down that, you can see the mixer. We've got mixer 1, 127, mixer 2, 127, so that's full volume oscillator 1 and 2, and the noise is 33. I'll just turn that up a bit. Yeah, there's the noise source. And mixer 3, which is the third oscillator, nothing there at all. Now the filter is set up as a high pass filter, resonance up high, so we get kind of booming peak around where the frequency cutoff is. And we've got that controlled by, that's envelope 2 that'd be controlled by, so there's a bit of envelope modulation. You can hear that a bit sharper at the beginning. Envelope, so this is the VCA envelope. God, it does sound quite Autechre to me. It does. Something like that. ADSR2 controls the filter. ADSR3, I can't remember what it's tied to. It's something in the modulation matrix at the moment. And if I go to the voice section, you'll see we are in modern. Vintage, I think, just allows a little bit more drift in the oscillators, perhaps. Mono. I'm in poly, I don't know why, but maybe, I suppose because I'm playing different drum voices at the same time. Yeah, that's that page. You can spread the voices around a bit. You can detune them if you want. That's oscillator drift as well, voice and oscillator drift. Pitch bend, not doing anything with. Velocity sensitive. Can't really hear much difference there, but that's the way the velocity affects the VCA. Nothing else that I'm particularly interested in. Okay, anyway, LFO1, we've got that in the modulation matrix as well. Don't need to think about that too much. Here we are in the matrix. So the way this works, and the reason it works, is because all the way up the keyboard, we have the notes data, the MIDI note value, changing stuff that's happening in the modulation matrix. So we have the MIDI note value affecting shape 1, which is essentially FM amount. So when you're very, very low down, as we are here down here, even if I'm hitting quite hard, we don't get much of the FM coming through at all. Whereas if I go up, say 2 octaves, you see we've now got FM modulating the first oscillator quite a lot. Go up right to the top. Much more FM, get these, they don't sound particularly like FM hats, but you see how they could kind of work like that. All right, so that's the first slot. The next slot is the mix of the second oscillator, which if you remember was a sine wave, and that's going down. The mix is going down the further up your keyboard you get. So down here, hard to hear, but we do have 2 oscillators going off each other there. When you get up to the top, the second oscillator's dropped out completely. The third, again tied to the note value, the MIDI note number, is the decay of the first envelope. So envelope 1. So I've kind of upped that a bit, but now let's go up a few octaves. See, the decay is far shorter. Let's go back to the modulation matrix. So we've got that minus 69 at the moment. Yeah, so the decay, as you go up the keyboard, the decay lessens. Modulation slot 3, again, the note number. Release of the same envelope, the first envelope. Relatively short release up the top of the keyboard. Let's go down. Maybe let's just pump that up a little bit more. Let's go up the keyboard. Still there, but it's less, isn't it? Anyway, that's way too much. Next slot in the modulation matrix, velocity. So again, this is shape 1, which is FM amount of oscillator 1, and that increases the harder you hit the key. Hopefully that's obvious even at the high end. You know what I mean? Mod slot 4, velocity tied to cutoff. So again, the high pass filter cuts off more of the bass notes the harder you hit the sound, you hit the key rather. Mod slot 7, you see how many modulation slots there are in here. Mod slot 7, envelope 3, shape 1, the FM amount again, So this is controlled by that third envelope that we have. Not very much actually. Let's just increase that a bit. See what I mean? Mod slot floor, again back to note value again, and this is X noise, means the noise in the mix of the noise. It increases that as you go up the keyboard. So right at the top, we've got a lot more noise in the mix than we do lower down in the keyboard range. Mod slot 9, that LFO1 that we set up earlier, that's tied to the shape of the third oscillator. So the wave table of oscillator 3, and it's affecting it loads. So that means that everything that's getting FM'd is changing depending on where the LFO is in its final mod slot is random, just adding a little bit of random to the cutoff of the filter. So that's the basic patch. I quite like it. We've also got some effects going on. There's chorus on it. I'll just turn that off for a sec. Don't know, I kind of like it with the chorus on. You can change the EQ in Micromonsta as well. We also have in the effects section a delay, which is on at the moment. Very, very short delay. If I just turn the level of that up a bit and go down a bit in the keyboard range. And we have reverb as well. Not the biggest reverb. Can do a really, really long reverb this, but it's kind of quite roomy. And without reverb, I've messed around with the envelopes a bit here. It doesn't sound quite how it normally does. Yeah, and then finally in the drive section, there's a kind of drive emulation, distortion, a bit of distortion. Without it, sounds like that, and with it, bit of grit. Up to you how much you do with that. Yeah, so that's the patch. I'm on the second voice here. Double click on that, then go yes, then we get back to what I had saved. That's a bit more subtle, isn't it? So what I thought I'd do next is just show you that in context and how fun it can be. So what's good about the Micromonsta, like I said, is there are two voices. There's this, which I've got set up on voice B, which is going to be our percussion kind of kit. And on the second voice, I can play some synth stuff, So I've got a little sequence set up in key step here. That's going to trigger my percussive voice that I've just shown you in voice B. And in voice A, I'm going to play a few synthy bits and you'll go, oh yeah, it kind of sounds like somebody trying to be Autecher and not managing. But let's go for it. And now the second voice. There you go. I'm going to do more stuff with Micromonsta 2 because, like I said, I've been kind of trying to plan something whereby I'm using another box I have that can do some sequencing of this, maybe a bit more, rather than just kind of straight sequencing like I can do on the key step, something that's a bit more Autecher-y. Use the one voice as the synthy kind of voice, use another voice as the percussive voice. See what I can get away with just with those two boxes. Might have to bring in some other stuff in order to make it a bit more interesting, but I'm kind of trying to prepare a bit of a live set at the moment, and I quite like this and the other little box I'm using to be the centerpiece of that. Anyway, hope that was interesting, hope it was useful. These are on sale. They're never on sale. You normally have to wait a year. They're really good. If you've got, you know, I know money's tight all over the moment, but you know, if you've got a little bit of cash and you're thinking about getting a really full-featured polysynth with fantastic modulation possibilities, you know, there's loads of stuff I didn't show you here in terms of the way the LFOs can work that make you kind of get into more like Oberheim kind of territory, stuff like that. I really recommend them. Go and, you know, a small company as well, support small businesses, isn't it? Go and get yourself a Micromonsta 2. Follow me on Instagram, look at my website, whatever. Get in touch with me if you want to. I'm not going to do a sound pack for this because I don't think it's worth it really. And I will see you very soon. I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to do another video. Like I said, I've been doing things. What can you do? We all do things sometimes. And I'll see you soon. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye. Bye.